Welcome to New Strength. I'm Christina Cook-Lee. New Strength is a daily devotional offering hope and encouragement to people who are trying to get and stay free from depression and/or dependency. I would encourage you to read along with me. If you're viewing directly on YouTube, check the description area below the screen for instructions on how you can. Thanks for joining me. Our topic is Live and Let Live. The focus, giving people the benefit of the doubt. The scripture, Romans chapter 2, verse 1 from the New King James Version of the Bible. You, therefore, have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else, for at whatever point you judge another, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do the same things. There are a lot of scriptures in the Bible about judging others, probably because it's a major problem in the world. Romans chapter 2, verse 1 makes a very good point. So often when people point the finger at someone else about a particular kind of weakness, the person making the judgment frequently ends up sooner or later making the same kind of error. Remember the old quote, when you point your finger at someone, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. I have a cute story about something that might help illustrate this point. Not having any children until I was 36, I had a long time to observe other people's child-rearing abilities and time enough to make some pretty strong decisions about how my child would behave when I had one. For instance, I was sure my child would never be a picky eater, and I would never cater to her attitude if she didn't want to eat something I had set before her. Well, that theory quickly failed, and I was probably worse than any mother ever when it came to fussing over feeding my little darling exactly what she liked, and falling all over myself to try to provide it in creative ways that would impress her. I was also determined my daughter would have excellent manners and would always be polite. So when we went to church, I always dressed her up, and she sat like a little lady in big people's church instead of going to the nursery and risking the possibility of coming in contact with germs. When Stephanie was 5, we had our second little angel, and my time and attention were cut in half. One Sunday, we were visiting the church of some friends when the pastor called all of the youngsters up to the front of the sanctuary for the children's sermon. We were sitting in one of the back rows, just in case our little one made any noise. I couldn't stand it when other people allowed their babies to wail during a service, and would certainly never allow my child to do something like that. So when the pastor called the children up to the front, Stephanie anxiously looked up at me. She wanted to go with the rest of the children. I glanced up to the pulpit area and saw quite a few children gathering. As my attention was focused in that direction, I saw a young boy, probably 8 or 9 years old, catapult over the kneeling rail. The eyeballs in my mind automatically rolled to the back of my head, and I thought, how rude. Who would ever let their child do such a thing? It's easy to see he's never had any proper training about how to behave in church. When I glanced back at Stephanie, who looked up at me with a pleading expression in her eyes, I sighed and whispered, "Okay, you can go." No sooner had I given her my permission than she ran down the aisle to the front of the church and, you guessed it, tried to catapult over the kneeling rail. Except she was younger and shorter than the boy who had hopped over the rail with ease. She got stuck halfway over the rail, and the pastor had to help get her off. I was properly put in my place by the Lord that day, as several people cleared their throats and wondered whose child that was and why she didn't know how to behave in church. Visitors. You probably have some stories of your own about times when you had to be humbled over something too. Human nature is so quick to judge. Most people have to learn temperance the hard way, through personal experience. These days I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. If someone does something I don't agree with, I try not to make a big deal about it. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and neither is anyone else. We all have our flaws, and most of us don't intentionally set out to do something questionable. Temperance isn't something that is only mastered by people who are older. There are plenty of older people who don't have an ounce of it. And there are some little children who have an amazing amount of consideration for others. The old saying, never say never, is so true. The temptation you think you'd never fall for, that you can't imagine how anyone else could ever give into, might be just the thing that catches you off guard someday. So beware. Be careful what you think about other people and their behavior. Don't set yourself up for a test you might not want to take. 2 pastors who were judgmental toward me at one time because I was divorced later ended up having to go through divorces of their own. I didn't put some kind of a curse on them because of their attitudes, but God allowed them to be tested in the same area where they had been critical. Declaration: I will find new strength by being careful not to criticize others, so I hopefully won't have to be tested in the same way. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I would really appreciate it if you would like this segment, and if you wouldn't mind, please share it with someone else who might also benefit from it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the New Strength Devotional channel on YouTube or on WordPress, and then a link will come to you every day in your email with a segment like this. And if you're already a subscriber, I'll look forward to meeting with you again tomorrow. My prayer is that you will find new strength day by day and endless blessings. I'm Christina Cookley.